Better than Maguire and Lindelof combined. Fans praised Manchester United star. The value of Martinez. This wasn't a game that was ever going to overly test the defensive abilities of Lisandro Martinez, despite Manchester United's wobbles, but it did display some of his other characteristics, notably his ability on the ball. Ammonia set out in a very defensive shape, with the Cypriot side often putting all 10 outfield players behind the ball. That left space at a premium, but Martinez was vital in creating some openings. The Argentine was happy to carry the ball out of defense and trying to take players out of the game, but his passing was incisive and alpha-aggressive as well. He would fire passes out wide to Tyrell Malaysia and Jadon Sancho, attracting players to him before releasing the ball. There was also a line Brie Alpha King pass that freed Antony in the early stages, only for the Brazilian to spurn the shot and fluff his layoff to Bruno Fernandes. Martinez did eventually get himself involved in a goal, firing a sharp pass into Marcus Rashford, whose clever flick handed possession to Anthony Martial, and the Frenchman put United in front and in control. Breaking down deep defenses is never easy, but with a centre-back as confident and cultured on the ball as Martinez, it can make a difference. Ten Hag's ruthless streak. United subs are learning that they need to be ready early under Erik ten Hag, with the 2 changes he made at halftime here, the 9th and 10 substitutions he's made at the interval in 10 games in charge. Some of them have been pre-planned, some tactical and some the result of poor performances, and he was ruthless again in Cyprus with United under pressure. In 6 of his 10 games in charge he's made a change at halftime, and the 2 alterations in the GSP Stadium worked, with Luke Shaw and Rashford improving United. Martial also scored twice off the bench on Sunday, and that means United's last 5 goals have all now been scored by substitutes. A weakness exposed. Ten Hag said rules had been broken by his United players in the 6-3 defeat to Manchester City on Sunday, and on the eve of this Europa League game Fernandes suggested they revolved around being weak on transitions. City, a team who rarely look to counterattack, with Pep Guardiola preferring possession and organization, scored 3 goals on the break at the Etihad, but evidently nobody had read the rule book on the 5-hour flight to Cyprus. United had completely dominated the first 34 minutes of this game, enjoying 81% possession and 9 shots to nil. But when Christian Eriksen's free kick was cleared, they were hopelessly exposed. Malaysia made a poor individual error, but Ammonia Nicosia's players swarmed forward and United were poorly organized, with not enough players alert to the danger and not enough of them working hard enough to get back. It was an awful goal to concede to a team who had won 1 of their last 26 games in European competition proper. Neil Lennon's side were quite clearly inferior to United, but had been given a gift. The weakness on the counterattack is also going to be something the opposition starts focusing on. Modern coaches use the term rest defense to talk about structure to avoid being broken on, but United's is quite clearly lacking at the moment. Casemiro's audition. It was interesting to hear Ten Hag talk about Casemiro suffering fitness problems in his early weeks at United, and he's certainly not looked as sharp as many expected since his £70 million move from Real Madrid. This was only a second start for the club, both in the Europa League, and he had clearly sharpened up since a pretty poor performance against Real Sociedad at Old Trafford. He dropped deep to collect possession, usually from Victor Lindelof, and moved the ball forwards well. There were shades of what Ten Hag said he wanted from Frenkie de Jong in that approach. This was definitely a step forward from Casemiro, but he did play 80 minutes, and if those fitness concerns persist he might not be ready to face Everton in an intense Premier League game at Goodison Park, but his time is surely coming. Shaw versus Malaysia. Malaysia might be Ten Hag's signing, and he has made an impression in his short United career so far, but being hooked at halftime in a second successive game must put him at risk of losing his place. The 23-year-old showed plenty of character when replacing Shaw at halftime at Brentford and has been first-choice left-back since then, but Shaw was impressive on international duty and Malaysia has regressed. He struggled against Phil Foden on Sunday, and his poor touch cost United in the first half in Cyprus. Shaw has looked sharper in both of his second-half outings this week and did well with England. He deserves to reclaim his place. Subscribe to my YouTube channel MUFC Hot Sports for more information about Manchester United.